The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, in spite of what seems to be an uptick in passport fraud, Prime Minister Davis speaking out saying the passport's integrity is intact. Also tonight, Prime Minister Davis sending a strong message to criminals. That meeting, the Grand Bahama Town meeting last night is all everyone is still talking about, and I'm here to talk about it as well on tonight's show. And here's a question coming out of that meeting. The Grand Bahama Port Authority unable to pay? Well, we'll get to it straight ahead tonight. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Amid what appears to be an uptick in fraud cases involving Bahamian passports, Prime Minister Davis is insisting the integrity of the country's national identification document remains intact. Linton Ritchie Jr. has the story, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Prime Minister Philip Davis insisting that there's no threat to the credibility of the Bahamian passport. This despite a number of recent court cases involving foreign nationals found with fraudulent passports and other government identification documents. Eyewitness News asked the nation's leader whether the growing number of fraud cases is a cause for concern and if such schemes could damage the passport's international reputation.
I don't think it's a threat per se, because the amount that we are talking about has not been that great.
Earlier this month, 2 Haitian nationals, ages 18 and 59, were remanded to prison after one of the men was caught at the country's main gateway with a fraudulent passport in February. Prosecutors also alleged that the same document was used to obtain a false voter registration card. In a separate matter, a man already before the courts on sexual assault charges involving 2 teenage schoolgirls is also being prosecuted for allegedly obtaining a fraudulent NIB smart card and driver's license. And in February, another Haitian national was sentenced to 2 years in prison after admitting to possession of a false passport along with a fraudulent voter's registration card and NIB smart card. With multiple people now charged and some already sentenced, the Prime Minister says authorities are actively dealing with the issues.
We are troubled, and I know that the police has taken note of this, and they are looking at how best to defend against this.
Still, questions remain about how these documents continue to be obtained and whether there are gaps within the system.
That has an element of deceit. And the perpetrators are engaging in it to ensure that you don't discover it. And that's why sometimes it takes longer to figure it all out.
But as more fraud cases emerge in the courts, the bigger question for many is whether the system designed to protect these documents is strong enough to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
Well, this evening, it's not a new topic. We've discussed this quite a number of times, especially after each apprehension of a fraudulent document, or somebody is arrested and prosecuted for being in possession of a fraudulent document. We've even zeroed in on the Immigration Department, the Passport Office in particular. And so, and including, if you all remember recently, the Parliamentary Registrar Department. And so this evening, we're going to jump right in. Beyond the Headlines contributors Cassia Stewart and Glenroy Pratt join me this evening. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you. It's good to have you both here. Let's just talk about this, I guess, ongoing discovery of fraudulent passports and other documents. And the Prime Minister saying, listen, you know, take time. It's not really the big monster in the room that it appears to be.
Good evening, Shanique, and good evening, Bahamas. One just needs to walk around this country and go in different quarters and see that there is something alarming happening in this country. Just look around, open your eyes. you would see people who you never seen before on the beaches, on the malls, or in the malls, all around town, all around your neighborhoods. New faces, adult faces. Where are these people coming from? How are they obtaining jobs? How is it that they have these records? And where did they grow up? No identifying trait. So this is an alarming fact that we have a problem in this country. And the fact that we have these incidents that have been transpiring as of late, just imagine how much have not been discovered. How are they getting these in their hands? There's corruption somewhere down the line and it needs to be sniffed out, and it needs to be sniffed out quite fast. Because if we continue along these paths, we'll have a dominating culture in this country. And this is not specific to any particular culture. This is specific to the dominant one that we're seeing now.
Well, good evening, Bahamas. It's so good to see you, Shanique. I love this blue color you're wearing. It's really nice.
Thank you.
But I am very concerned about this, too many incidents of fraudulent passports. In fact, in my case, one is too many, because your passport is a very national security document, and you cannot allow that to be in the hands of people who don't supposed to have it. Now, if you have one, the probability there's two, but if you have two, there's a probability there's 10 or 15 that you don't know about. My thing is, I think we need to have an audit on all Haitian nationals who have Bahamian passports. We need to recall them, and we would know in the system who would have them. And when you cross-reference whether they were born, where they born, and they have a Bahamian passport, we need to check to see whether or not they qualify to have these passports, because that is a very serious thing. I'm very concerned, and for me, one is a danger for me. And so I think the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security, whoever must be, we need to do a thorough investigation. We need to do an audit of all of them who got passports, and then those who got passports, we need to follow the rabbit hole. Where did you get this? Who was involved in issuing it? And then those who are caught issuing this illegal passport, make sure they suffer the harsh consequences of 50 years in jail, so they'll never ever think about doing it, or somebody else coming behind them won't ever think about doing it, because we cannot surrender our sovereignty. We cannot surrender something as precious as our passport to anybody who doesn't supposed to have it.
And the thing about it is, we keep seeing individuals being arrested, but we don't see the right people being arrested.
Precisely.
You know, these are people who are giving these passports to these individuals. And we need to search and find out who these people are.
You got to follow the rabbit
And it's
hole.
been happening too frequently for them not to be investigating that level. And not to have anybody before the courts at this particular juncture is very alarming. And it tells me that there's some machine somewhere, and something is happening, that all these people are in possession of such documents. If you walk around this town, it's alarming. It's alarming. Ladies and gentlemen, you gotta wake up.
But Glenroy, it's not just passport, it's work permits, it's national insurance card, it's all of these identifications that needs
Absolutely.
to be protected. We need to make sure that those who are in the process of issuing these documents, they are held at a higher responsibility, because if you violate the trust that was placed in you to be able to protect these sacred documents, and you issuing them where you're not supposed to issue for money,
right,
then 50 years in jail.
It's treasonous.
It is
treason.
And that's why you cannot play with people who violate the law or commit this kind of treason.
But not only that,
on your country.
when you have such individuals with possession of, they have every right as a citizen.
Precisely.
And what happens now, they have an opportunity to get...
Not if it's fraudulent.
No, understand. They can still get in the door,
They
because
can.
if somebody don't do their due diligence. And what that also means is that they could get employment in areas that impact the ability to give out more passports.
Precisely.
So we have to fix this problem.
Yeah.
Well,
This is a
certainly
very serious, alarming matter.
You all would remember last week the immigration director was interviewed, and he spoke about some of his officers being prosecuted, and when they are finding people who are in violation of the law and whatever that means, the matter is turned over to the police. You heard that, of course, several times on this show last year. The chief passport officer appeared, and he talked about cleaning out and not feeling any which way about having anyone in his area who is found to be committing such fraudulent acts being turned over to the police, and then the matter it proceeds from there. But I want to say this to you both. 1 week ago today, I had a discussion with him not for a show, just to discuss with him about the matter of fraudulent passports. Let me just share some of what he had to say. He said, the issue isn't about spotting a fake passport, it's fraudulent documents. And Bahamians, you both said this, Bahamians who are aiding in these activities. Now, here's what it is. Here's what happens, right? He says, it's not this is where the passport is secure. And even though it's being frauded on a certain level, not quite when it comes to spotting some key things. You can't fake this. So here's what he says. He says, what are called the keys, they embed a series of security codes within each passport. Each passport book has a different code that has a passport number and the data that is printed in the passport keys, which perform that function and are changed every 3 months with a new program. These keys are regulated by ICAO. And and he was here to talk about, and I'm happy he shared that with me. I can go and look at this conversation that we had and speak and share it with you all, because he said our passport document, believe it or not, is among the most stringent in the world, just based on technology that we have to be able to hopefully help steer a lot of this fraudulent activities that's happening.
But I don't think the document is counterfeit. I think what happened is people are issuing it to people who don't supposed to get it.
Correct.
In other words, I will give you $5,000, $1,000 to make sure, even though my documents I'm submitting is not the right document,
right,
but I'll make sure you get the document. But the passport itself is a legitimate passport. It's not a counterfeit passport. It's the fact that the way they got it is the issue. And so those who are issuing it to these people should be penalized, not just the person who has the passport. The people, because you could always find out who. Of course, how much you could find out once you press them, you'll find out where they're getting this and who the culprits are involved in making sure that this happen. And then we gotta close that hole right away. We gotta stop it.
On every instance or any situation that is issued, right, there should be something embedded that identifies the individual who is responsible for issuing it. And then not only that, we have these passports that have been in circulation. Like you said, we only know of those that have been found out.
Yeah.
There are hundreds that potentially went to the United States under the protective status and all this other stuff that is now come to stop in America. And what happens when those folks got round up and stuff and they go back to their home country? The home country in their possession is the Bahamas. We are living in a situation that we need to fix, and it needs to be fixed right away. The government cannot rest on its laurels, especially when the sovereignty of this country is at stake. You have an election period that is coming up also that is going to be also impacted by such.
Glenroy and Cassius, this is what I wanted to lead into next. Is this a convenient political topic?
No.
And to help be a part of here, listen, I have some very smart, intelligent viewers, right? Mm-hmm. Here's a question that comes from one of them. What evidence do we have that there are a large number or numbers of illegal passport holders? What data do we have to support those comments? They are questioning the integrity of people about issuing passports for financial gain, yet there's no evidence to support it.
But Janique, I go back to the point. If you walk around this country, there are people who are in possession of a passport don't speak one bit of English.
I think now, especially in today's world, you just look at everywhere. In the great United States, where English is the primary language, what happens? What happens? You got communities where people could care less about learning the language of the nation.
America's a different breed, though. But America's a melting pot. That's the establishment of America.
Every nation has become one.
No, not necessarily, because that is not our decree. America's decreed that they will send us your weak and your poor and all that stuff. That's what they declare.
But again, it's almost like the story we will get to in a minute. It worked for that time. That decree that you said was a part of the framework of the Bahamas initially, an independent Bahamas. But now, 50 plus years later, it's morphed. It's become something different. So everyone here who has a legitimate passport won't necessarily speak English.
No, that's not the issue what I'm saying. I'm saying the people have obtained these passports and nobody can even identify where they grew up, who they are, how they got here.
Well,
nothing.
I don't think you would. I mean, I imagine
no,
they came, y'all marrying them. Like,
you should have a record. Somebody should know something about you.
Y'all marrying them. Y'all bringing. Y'all want different wives.
Are you marrying
them? Understand?
No, I didn't marry. Not that there's anything wrong with these people.
Y'all want different wife. I want a different husband. Like what I'm saying, we bringing the people in here.
Well, I think to answer that person, it's not that we have any evidence that is widespread. What we're saying is, if we have 1-2 cases, the possibility that there are more out there. And so you have to go on that premise.
Absolutely.
And so you cannot rest your laurel and say, oh, well, it's only two. It's only two. No. You have to assume that there's more. And if you assume that there's more, then we'll do what we need to do to make sure that we don't have any more out there.
I am sure, listen to me, I don't think it'll ever stop, particularly in an era now where AI is prominent and it's
but AI ain't getting nothing to do with that.
I don't care. The point is people are now up with technology.
No, but AI
so
ain't got nothing to do with that.
But it makes it very easy for me to have a fraudulent, any kind of document.
Dishonest people issuing
corruption.
But
passports. That's all it is.
But you all, that is a part of the issue. We know Bahamians are pirates from day one.
No, well, I would say Bahamians, but there are individuals in this country who are pirates. Yes.
And look who in the group. Seriously, let's be real. Let's be real of who's going to make up the group. You think a Bahamian ain't going to be involved in this and some racket to get passports out there and make millions? Come on now, let's be real about it. So here's another. It says right in Miami. This is back to my point about the U.S. And you say, oh, the U.S. is different. Here, right in Miami, how many U.S. citizens can't speak English?
Can't speak English.
But
again, you cannot use America as a measuring stick because America, for example, America accepted all sorts of Cubans the other day, many years ago. They had a wet foot, dry foot policy. That's a situation.
They stopped that a minute ago.
They stopped that under Trump. But what I'm saying is they had the policy. So you had a lot of people who came into the country who couldn't speak the language.
But
the fact is they have identified themselves as a melting pot.
Yes.
The Bahamas hasn't identified itself as a...
No, we don't have to. But we have kind of positioned ourselves there, not officially.
Not by will.
Not officially. We positioned ourselves.
Remember our primary law, though. Just because you're born in the Bahamas will make you a Bahamian.
Exactly.
You see?
America is different.
That's the primary law.
That's the primary law, and I wish, on this show, calls have been called for a moratorium on citizenships.
You can't stop moratorium on citizenship. What we have
moratorium
to do is,
and to control it better. Now, immigration, ordered, structured immigration is, I think, needed in some areas of our nation. It is, and so we cannot necessarily, listen. The good thing is the fraud is being detected. Is each one being detected? I doubt it. But the point is, it's being detected in greater numbers than ever before. And I trust Nicholas Simonet, who is the chief passport officer, and came here and talked about several times when he accepted the invitation to appear and talk about what his area is doing, including having people prosecuted when they are found in violation of the law, in terms of helping be a part of this fraud that's happening. Meanwhile, though, they stay focused. They have ICAO standards that are happening at the passport office. I imagine there are the other areas, immigration and the rest of it as well. And we will continue to shine a light on that. That's as simple as that. And so we will, of course, take a break. We got a lot more to get to. And exactly, here's a question as we go to the break. Did this alleged problem begin 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
See, people
20 years ago.
People missing the issue.
Who's missing it?
They're missing the point.
Who was missing the point?
This thing has been going on, but it's proliferated. That's the point.
No, it's more. You know why it's more? You know why it's more? It's more visible now because of the nature of where we're at as a society.
But it don't matter. It doesn't matter whether it started last week or 10 years ago.
It's happening.
The point we made. If one fraudulent passport is out there, that's too many.
And who issuing it? Get that person.
It's too many.
Get them.
One.
Get them.
So stop running on with all this garbage. But
Rubbish.
How long has been running on? If one passport out there is too many illegal passports.
Exactly.
It's too many.
Exactly.
Well, Prime Minister Davis is saying criminals, y'all. That's right. Yeah. If it's more than one of y'all out there, it's too many. We can tell you what he has to say in a message to criminals in the Bahamas after this break. Stay close.
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama here at Superwash, Superwash's newest spokesmodel. And I'm here to tell you about Superwash's large capacity washers and dryers for all your big loads.
I know I see that Charlie Banana coming here just now.
Luckily, it's also big enough for me to hide it.
I thought he was right over here where these large capacity washer and dryers is. They're big enough now to handle your big loads, Yeah, like your comfort on your blanket. But just look at us. Somebody forget to turn on the dryer. Oh, stop! Damn! You hear something? Yeah, that's the sound of clean. Superwash washes your process you add and change them 24/7.
I go into the shop and what I see, the things what they trying to sell for tea. I come to bring it back where I get it from. And then they tell me they don't give refund. I say, girl, who is you? time now. I just trying to get straight, you know, but they want rob me. But I don't know, so I walk off, got out of sight, cause that's enough robbery for me in one night. March off like a marching man. Call Consumer Protection Commission. When they pick up, I file a complaint. And quick as that, I get my money back, but don't mess with the CPC. Don't mess with the CPC. Hey, don't mess with the CPC. Cause why? They here to protect me. Follow the Consumer Protection Commission Bahamas Facebook page to stay up to date on tips that protect you as a consumer. It's your boy, the Immune Trick.
Very dry, tight, sensitive skin? Relieve it in 60 seconds with Aveeno Skin Relief. With soothing triple oat complex, clinically proven to heal and strengthen dry skin. Aveeno, your skin stronger.
Don't let diarrhea steal your sunshine. Imodium Multi-Symptom Relief gets to work fast in just 1 hour, offering our most complete relief from diarrhea, bloating, gas, and cramps. So you can get diarrhea off your mind. Imodium. Calm the chaos of diarrhea.
Is turning 8 years old. 103.5 The Beat and Keep the Vibe Alive Music Group presents The Beat Fest. It's a Bahamian musical experience on March 14th at The Pond. Doors open 7 p.m. sharp. Performing live, Shine, Stevie S, Mama D, Veronica Bishop, Funky D, all backed up by The Pond Band. Hosted by Joe Cools, 1K Gaza, and Jess Mo. Music by 103.5 The Beat DJ. Tickets available now at all Beauty Shack locations. General admission, $30. VIP, $75. Get your tickets early. Spots are limited. Sponsored by Mazzari International, The Plug, and The Beauty Shack. And of course, 103.5 The Beat.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Welcome back. Glenroy, we shall not discuss the Chinese. I'll wait until Michael Turnquest is here because he has a lot to say about that whole liquor license
Michael is Chinese?
situation. So listen, Prime Minister Davis is taking a direct hit at criminals across the country, pledging to rid the Bahamas, he says, to rid the streets of bloodshed, noting that under his administration, a priority under crime is to break down criminal organizations here in the Bahamas. Davis says, from his perspective, officers attached to the Royal Bahamas Police Force are doing the work, and operations remain at an all-time high.
Now let me say something directly to those who think they can continue to terrorize our communities. We are coming for you. We have more officers on the streets than ever before. We have cameras watching. We have shot spotters listening. We have intelligence working around the clock. And we have a 65% murder occurrence rate, which means if you take a life in this country, the chances are we will find you and you will face justice. Every illegal firearm you carry, we will seize. Every criminal network you build, we will dismantle. Every community you try to hold hostage, we will take back. That is not a threat. That is a promise from this government to the Bahamian people.
Well, Glenn Ryan Cassius, your thoughts, Prime Minister Davis, giving some tall words right there, very, very tough words, and living up to his moniker, brave.
See, I mean, you know, if I may, Glenn Roy,
Yeah,
you know,
man, by all means.
you know, this is a very touchy subject to me because I've been around with this crime situation for a long time. I want tough talk. I don't want just tough talk. I want action. Don't just say, oh, well, you know, we can take your gun. No, no, no. Go to Parliament and you enact some legislation that will, for these young people who are on here fighting in stool, carry their behind in Rossin Square, the cat nine tail or the cane. Give them 15 lashes when they carry on bad so that they know that when they walk the streets of the Bahamas, they got to walk circumspect. These fellas around here who around here with gun and thing, right? I can say that? I can't say that. With gun and thing. 25 years and 5 years for every bullet in the chamber. You can't just say we can take your gun. What's the penalty? The consequences? They got to know that the law will crush them. They will crush them. And so you see what happened is that we talk this little fluffy talk, you know, of course it's election time, you talk this little fluffy talk, but we got to live this. This is something we got to live. Because these fellas coming, they raping, they breaking in people's homes, they robbing, they stealing. You see the fella who go on inside the people, so who we can shoot, robbing the place? Them fellas aren't supposed to be on the streets. We're supposed to scrape the bottom of the sewer and get them out of this country. But make sure they don't walk among sensible people. That's what we're supposed to do. Don't play with them. We lotion, we pet, we powder them. But we need to say, Mr. Prime Minister, you're supposed to say, gangster man, we don't lotion, pet, nor powder. That's what you're supposed to say.
No jargons. but here's the challenge though. Good tough talks, right? But the reality is this. It has to start from the top.
Yes.
When politicians are found hand in the cookie jar, they go to jail. We can't just highlight crime from just the man holding the gun.
They go to jail.
Highlight the crime and the man taking the pen and writing off big salary and big payoff himself in corruption and corrupt dealings. That is where the issues are. When you have the little man in the streets watching you commit crimes, and they see no justice for that situation, how do you think they're going to follow? Or what do you think they're going to do? We have to fix the problem from the top down. If people see that people at top are being held accountable for the things that they do, then we'll have a change in the country. But we just can't just deal with just the small guy.
I agree with you.
We got to deal with from the top.
So, Glenn, how many politicians in jail?
How many have ever been?
You see,
that's
the issue.
Yet we have been missing monies in the country. There have been allegations of people fraudulently getting stuff. We see people go into politics and not have anything and come out millionaires and billionaires or whatever the case may be. And there's no...
Who was the billionaire that came out? Who?
Well, we see the money.
Stop using loose words.
Some are billionaires, right? Though.
But look at the millionaires that comes in and we see all of the earnings and all the stuff that they have. And their salaries don't match the things they have. So we have to stop playing around.
I mean, even under the last administration, there was a lot of charges. A lot of charges were flowing out.
But recently,
nobody going to jail. None.
But recently, we also had a situation where we had police officers who are supposed to be upholding the law have been partaking in criminal acts. And so when you start talking about just identifying the fellow who committed a little small crime, deal holistically and stop playing around. This is election time. I expect all sorts of promises. This is like Santa Claus experience. All sorts of promises coming in, all kind of gift wrapping. But we got to be serious about the things that we're going to do in this country in order to change this country.
Yes.
Well, because it's election time and that fraudulent passport is a serious matter, sometimes the show kind of pauses longer in areas than others in a particular hour. So here's this. I want to share this because I love getting this live feedback, right? It says passport fraud is happening worldwide. This we know. It's an international network involved in creating fraud. What do you mean why? It's just happening. Issuing a passport is not the issue. It's the false documents that are being presented to obtain them. In the United States, a Bahamian national, the name was called Randon Cooper, previously faced federal charges for fraudulently claiming U.S. citizenship under a fraudulent passport and voter card. This was just a few years ago. And so these things are, it is to say that, listen, if it's happening everywhere else, what's going to make the Bahamas be able to detect?
So, in other words, we submit because everybody's stupid, then we should be stupid too. Because everybody down, we should be down too. Because this one wrong, we should be wrong too. No, we can't accept that argument. That's a dumb argument.
Armchair quarterback Go around the passport office.
That is a very dumb argument to bring to the table, because just because they're doing it wrong or that we should do it wrong over here. No, we're supposed to be the one to get it right.
Fix it, Cassie.
Let's get it right.
I agree.
Is it possible to get it right? Yes.
Yes.
We could get it right. Just because they fail, it don't mean we should fail. In other words, everybody in the class get F is okay because I get F. No. If you're gonna do better, then do better.
Fix it with your less than
So these people who always come up with these dumb excuses, stop writing shit into these dumb excuses.
Embracing mediocrity.
You leave my viewers alone. You leave them alone.
Embracing mediocrity.
I don't think a mediocrity. Tell that to everybody who walking around here.
No.
With
that's
a
what we do.
on.
That's what we did in the educational system, Shanique.
In any event, listen, y'all.
Everybody failed, so it's okay to fail.
The emotions will not run high in here. Well, they do. But here's what happened last night.
Oh, Lord, last night.
Emotions running very high at a town meeting last night that observers say was eventually polluted with political maneuvering. You guys believe that? It comes as the nation's leaders sought to address a packed crowd of Bahamians fielding questions from residents on an issue that continues to dominate headlines as the control for the national narrative continues. Jose Etienne was there and picks up the story.
The Belinda Wilson Convention Center in Grand Bahama erupted in Jersey Monday night as opposition leader and Marco City Member of Parliament Michael Pintard attempted to address a town hall meeting on the outcome of the arbitration case. What was billed as a bipartisan forum featuring Prime Minister Philip Davis quickly took on a heavy political tone, with supporters from both major parties arriving in PLP and F&M gear. The convention center was packed to the rafters as residents turned out to hear Prime Minister Davis and other legal experts explain the outcome of the tribunal involving the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. But as the discussion unfolded, it became clear the tribunal's findings remain a sharply dividing issue in Grand Bahama. The tension in the room only intensified when Pintard attempted to explain why he believes the decades-old agreement should not be scrapped.
Give me an opportunity to make the point.
East Grand Bahama MP Kwesi Thompson also faced a hostile reception during the question and answer segment, with heckling continuing even as he used up his allotted time.
Mr. Thompson? So I most definitely believe that what we should do is we should be talking about what the future of the Port Authority and the future.
Okay. Despite the verbal onslaught, Pintard later told Eyewitness News he was not surprised by the reaction.
We came to a PLP rally, my brother. You in Marco City, I go all the way and show up.
Prime Minister Davis could be seen attempting to quiet the crowd at times, but his efforts appeared to have little effect, and police officers present did not step in to restore order in the hall. We later asked Pintard to clarify his position on the future of Freeport.
We need a municipal government that is run by Grand Bahamians, where the licensees and others can be elected and determine who get licenses.
Meanwhile, some critics continue to accuse F&M members of being foot soldiers for the Grand Bahama Port Authority, pointing to comments claiming the government lost the arbitration.
The F&M need to join this parade.
But F&M Vice Chairman David Thompson is pushing back against that narrative.
The F&M stands strong as being in support of the ruling.
For his part, Prime Minister Davis says his issue isn't necessarily with the Hawksbill Creek Agreement itself, but with what he describes as decades of unchecked control by two families who he says failed to meet their obligations. He's also pushing back against claims that the government lost the case, including arguments surrounding some $357 million in allegedly owed taxpayer funds.
The government was not told that it has no claim, only that the claim must be brought through a different door, and that door leads to the same building.
Former MP and Magistrate Gregory Moss also addressed the crowd, offering his interpretation of the ruling and calling for national unity moving forward.
It's inevitable that people have strong political views on this type of thing. I think it's important to move past the politics, back to country, and to see an improvement for Freeport as an improvement for the entire Bahamas.
But if Monday night's town hall proved anything, it's that even after the tribunal's decision, the future of Freeport and the Hawksbill Creek Agreement remain a deeply polarizing issue. Jose Etienne, Eyewitness News.
Well, Cassius and Glenroy, this is obviously an issue that Grand Bahamians are hugely invested in, and rightly so. Many feel as though the Port Authority really has nowhere to go. However, it cannot move forward based on that Hawksbill Creek agreement. That must be revised. Your thoughts about how that meeting, number one, well, the turnout to the meeting to obviously show support, interest rather, to show that there's interest there. And then not only that, though, the fact that this continues to be this very emotive topic.
You know, Shanik, I watched that town hall meeting, and it was, first of all, the moderator, I mean, I must say, Madam Moderator, please, if it's a national event, keep your politics out, all right? We know you're PLP, but the world ain't got to know that. You come to deal with the Grand Bahama Port Authority, not to promote the PLP.
Who was the moderator?
Whatever she name is, she was the
someone from Grand Bahama?
Yeah, she was from ZNS, right? So, that's my first problem, right? Then the second problem is, Michael Pindar, I don't sure which planet you live on. Either you live on this planet or someone else's planet, because everybody knows the Grand Bahama Port Authority is a relic of the past. And he seems to be a relic of the past with the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. He wants to hold on to this Hawksbill Creek Agreement, work side by side with some municipal government. Oh boy, this is the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We operate as one government. What are you trying to create another? We already have the Port Authority that operate as a separate situation. Now you want to create another separate situation to create more chaos? No. We need to fix Grand Bahama. And for me, my problem is, for the Prime Minister and all this argument, right? What is the end game? At the end of all of this rambling, are we just arguing with money, or are we arguing with money and control? Because if we just argue with money, just go get your money. But if we say we want to assume the rightful control of Freeport, then that's one thing.
No.
But what's the end game then? Because the end game don't make no sense to me. Or if you were looking for money, just go beg for the money. But if you want to take over Grand Bahama and put it back in the control of the Bahamas government, then let's do that.
No.
Then let's stop running on with all this garbage then. We talking about this and new that, and this a new day, a new era. Then we wasting our time, because if tomorrow we get our $2 and the Grand Bahama Port Authority continue along the same road they've been on, then what we do this off? What's this for? What is for? Because there's no end game. My end game is, let us remove the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Let the government of the Bahamas assume rightful rulership and rule, a control of the port area, and we now run it properly. But now the problem is, like we say, we don't want Grand Bahama to be run like how you run East Street, how you run the rest of the islands or the rest of the places that don't have no order. My problem is that we need to be a vision needs to be articulated, and there's no vision. The Prime Minister said the vision has been lost from the families, and rightfully so. The government needs to articulate a vision for Grand Bahama, and the FNM didn't articulate a vision for Grand Bahama, so nobody know what the end game is. So we all just rowing over $350 million. That's all. Glenroy, I read it wrong.
Well, obviously there are some challenges in this whole situation, and I agree to some extent of what you're saying, because obviously there's not been any articulated end game, and the fact is the government is going all guns blazing without any true articulation of what it is they're hoping to achieve. Yes, the money is something that they want to gather. They want the Grand Bahama Port Authority to do and live up to its obligation. But obviously there's a way to go about doing things, and I think in some instances they did not go about it in the right fashion. But at the same time, I'm going to side on the side of the Grand Bahamians who've been suffering in that island. And there are some opportunities that if we can get that whole place together, the country could see a rebound in a way that it needs to be seen. There are too many governmental hands involved in some of these things, and that's why we see some of the errors that we're seeing now. Back then, when the Hawksbill Creek Agreement was signed, that was done for a specific reason. When that expired, then it was extended again. And to me, at that time, it should not have been extended. Then after that extension, that was under...
perhaps the terms and conditions could have been revised to look like something else.
And it extended under the Christie administration as well. So everybody had a hand in that whole situation. But right now, we are talking about opportunities. If you look at, we have 700 islands and keys, right? And we're talking about Grand Bahama. What opportunities can the government go towards that will help elevate our Bahamian people inside Grand Bahama? We need to stop playing around and just wasting time. Grand Bahama needs a foot up and a hand up, and right now they're not getting it.
But here is a way in. The tribunal ruled that, or said that the Grand Bahama Port Authority is insolvent. Now, insolvent means that if you sell off all your assets, you still don't have enough to cover all of your debt. That means you broke.
Well, how is that even possible? And let's hear it.
You say he broke.
Cassius, let me read this on you. No, I want you to say right after this, right here.
Because what
the Prime Minister Davis also argued last night that the Grand Bahama, Cassius, I'm reading this, that Grand Bahama Port Authority is reportedly building a defense to assert that it cannot pay any liabilities to the government. It comes as liability has been established for the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and the amount will be determined in a pending arbitration if both sides fail to negotiate. It also comes as the Grand Bahama Port Authority is seemingly dismissing concerns about liability after shareholders released a statement to its licensees suggesting otherwise.
The Belinda Walton Convention.
I want us to talk about the financial obligation, which is real and enforceable. And you would have heard even the arbitrators observed that the Port Authority might be bankrupt, self-solvency. They observed that. They didn't say it, they just observed that it may be. And then, so there's a defense being built by the Port Authority saying that we can't pay. Well, I just want to say, when I hear that, and those allied with the Port Authority say it does not have the money to meet significant financial claims. Remember what I told you about the deliberate transfer away of productive assets. Just remember that. It is quite possible, I'm not saying what the result might be, it is quite possible that a court asked to enforce a payment obligations against the Port Authority will not be blind to that history of divestiture, particularly basically to themselves, but to another entity, because it is common shareholding.
Cassius, this is where you were leading to, and I want you to pick up right there, because the Prime Minister said, listen, perhaps they might be broke, right? Yeah. Because they may have smartly divested this thing and shifted it.
Yeah, they created separate companies. They created a shell company where they hold all of the the companies that brought in all the revenue. They created a separate company to keep those revenues separate from that of the Port Authority. The Port Authority now only handles licensing and probably one or two other things. But here's my issue, right? So, of course, now they're insolvent, like I said. In other words, they ain't got no money, but they owe us all this money. So if we now calculate what they owe us from now and they can't pay, then what we should do is say, then don't pay us, use that money, and we assume control of the Port Authority, and then from there moving forward. So we use what they owe us as our equity to take over the Port Authority. I mean that only makes sense. If I was the Prime Minister, that's what I would do. And so if I had to put up an extra $3, or we have to go get a GoFundMe to put the difference, then we have to do that. But I'm going after control of the Grand Bahama Port Authority if I was the Prime Minister, because moving forward, we need to make sure that we can control all of our jurisdictions, and it's under the control of the people of the Bahamas, not a private family, because they already got their private situation and them private companies, their separate accounts in the Cayman Islands, and so on and so on and so on. And so they straight, but we need to make sure that the Bahamian people are straight. So this one need to be a win for the Bahamian people. But I have one question, Glenroy. One question, everybody asking all these questions, right? Mm-hmm. When the Grand Bahama Port Authority was created, there was 25% of the shares that was belonging to the Bahamian people.
Now you
hold on, let me talk now.
Yeah, season to me.
That 25% automatically disappeared.
Right.
Nobody knows what happened to the 25% stake in the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
Right.
Now, since everybody asking these questions, I'm asking this question, what happened to my 25%?
Who are the stakeholders in that?
Who get it? Who divested those? How the percentages get lost? And the Bahamian people don't have no more shares in the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Where it gone?
Yeah.
You all answer me that question. Mm-hmm.
No, that's a big question. I mean, and there are obviously some stakeholders that have 25%. Was this 25% diced and spliced, and you got a piece and you got a piece? You know, I mean, and listen, we got a lot of questions that needs to be answered. And right now, all we know is that a lot of people come to the country, they create these opportunities for wealth gain, they monopolize on their opportunities. Sometimes government officials are involved because they have parts to play in it. They have shares in some of these opportunities. And sometimes they block other Bahamians from holding such opportunities because they have a monopoly on it. And so until you have these type of situations that exposes all details, you're fighting a losing battle. But again, the Prime Minister needs to articulate what is the end game and where this all leads at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Here is a comment as we go to the break. You cannot have a for-profit business serving as government, meaning the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Ask your guests what would they recommend a PLP or FNM government do. The Port Authority is a for-profit business. It has amassed significant wealth for the principal shareholders, their families through many generations. Trust funds have been established for their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Ask the Bay Street Boys who got the 25%.
Good point. Let's ask them where it is.
Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.
The Fox Foundation proudly presents the keynote speaker for the 3rd Annual Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative, this March 19th at 7 p.m. at the beautiful Bahama Resort. Get ready to be inspired by Randy Zuckerberg, tech innovator and the creator of Facebook Live. She revolutionized real-time digital engagement, empowering individuals and brands to broadcast instantly to global audiences. And now she brings that innovation and insight to the Fox Foundation's 3rd Annual Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative, March 19th at 7 p.m. at the Bahama Resort. Under this year's theme, Give to Gain, join us for a night designed to inspire growth, spark opportunity, and strengthen the future of women in business.
Play for fun, not for funds.
In the Bahamas, we play hard, but we live smart.
We love a little competition.
A little excitement, a little thrill.
And at Idle Luck, gaming is all about entertainment.
Shared moments, celebrating the wins, and enjoying the experience.
The key is simple. Play for fun, not for funds. When you set a budget before you start,
and know your limits, you stay in control.
And when you're in control, the game stays what it's meant to be.
Fun. So play for fun, not for funds.
Must be 18 and over. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so please game responsibly.
The race to 2026 is heating up, and the nation's voice is louder than ever. Here on Beyond the Headlines, we're checking the mood, the momentum, and the message of the people. I'm Shanique Miller. Each week, we're taking the temperature of the electorate to see what's really driving the nation. Who's connecting? Who's cooling off? What issues are heating up ahead of 2026? This is Temperature Check 2026, where journalism meets the nation's heartbeat.
Hey.
A 46-year-old physically impaired woman has been sentenced to 1 year in prison after admitting to stabbing her boyfriend during a late-night altercation. Brenda Mae Lewis pleaded guilty to grievous harm after stabbing Lionel Guidu in the chest with a kitchen knife shortly after midnight on March 6 on South Street. Guidu, Glenroy, sounds like you may know, fled to the Nassau Street Police Station following the incident and was later treated in hospital for serious injuries. Lewis, who suffers from a medical condition that restricts her mobility, told the court that Guidu charged at her during an argument, prompting her to stab him. She also alleged that he threatened to kill her. The court also heard that Lewis had previously been charged in 2022 after allegedly stabbing another boyfriend in the eye. Lewis was sentenced by Cara Turnquest DeVoe to 1 year in prison. The matter was prosecuted by Kay Wilkinson. Gentlemen,
Boy,
I mean,
she jack you up, you fool with her.
Wow.
If she done jack up 2 boyfriends. She jack 2 of them. I had to laugh at, right? But she jacked the man. I mean, she get twice.
But that ain't the point though. The point is she physically impaired.
She impaired too.
But you could stop.
But then she ain't just stop one. She died stop too.
This is scary, you know.
She's a dangerous woman. That's all. Stay away from physically impaired women. Check you up. That's all I gotta say.
This woman says she tired of y'all games. That's what it is. She tired of it, and she don't be. Come right. That's what you're trying to say. Meaning, gentlemen, this, as much as we can get to here, former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis is sounding the alarm over what he calls weak oversight, let's go guys, of members of Parliament, warning that some officials may be slipping through the cracks despite noticeable increases in their financial disclosures. Minnis prefaced his comments by revealing that his own declarations have increased, but says greater transparency means little if of accountability mechanisms are not properly enforced. His remarks come as sitting parliamentarians and politicians or political hopefuls began submitting their declarations ahead of the next general election. The former Prime Minister warns that failure to close those accountability gaps could fuel public concerns about corruption lingering in public life.
My declaration was about $14 million. I'm not ashamed of that. It was about $14 million. This year, my declaration has gone up. Now, if we were a country of laws and enforcement, they should have called me in. They should have called me in and questioned me as to explain how my asset had increased by millions of dollars. Just like they should have called the individuals who moved from $50,000 to $3-4 million. Until we deal with those matters, Madam Speaker, our country will continue to deteriorate. And I use myself as an example so that nobody can say that I picked on them. No, there can be easy explanations. Members know that you can purchase a piece of property today at $100,000, and next year it's worth $600,000. They know that. And therefore your asset went up. Easy explanation.
Gentlemen, as I call Dr. Minnis, you all run at that because he's talking about disclosure. Right now, yes.
Call him, because listen, Doc, you are on track, but guess what? Let me explain something to you. The Public Disclosure Act is very clear that if you fail to disclose anything in your disclosure and the government finds out, all that is now, what do you call it?
Confiscated.
Confiscated and turned over to the government. So in other words, if you fail to disclose that you have a house in Eleuthera and you didn't disclose that as an MP, whatever, and they find that, they take that. You disclose them car in Miami and so on, and then bank accounts, everything is taken, but the law is already clear. All we need the Attorney General to do is now press the gas. I don't know if you're going to press the gas because he got to disclose too. That's the problem, you see? And so the problem is that everybody is now required to disclose their assets and income. But if your assets jump and you can't give an account for that, that is now turned over to the government. The government can take all of that. And I want the government to go after all of these people who assets jump and they can't give an account for it. Take that. The country broke. The teachers need to be paid, remember?
Yeah, but the thing is about it is this. The Prime Minister was talking tough on the small man and the crime and all that stuff. That is where you need to talk tough. Talk to them. Because remember now, even in this government, when they first came into office, some people forgot to disclose. They say, oh, well, you forgot or whatever the case may be. Did we ever hear any punishment or any charges or anything on that? Nothing. And what the former Prime Minister said is so true, because there are people who have been earning millions of dollars in this country through the backs of the Bahamian people, through wheeling and dealing. That's a fact. And the fact is that they have become rich, and now they could interject themselves in the economic affairs of this country because of their wheeling and dealing in the political arena. We need to fix the problem in this country, and that's why we have VAT and all these challenges now in this country, because of corruption and corrupt behaviors.
But listen, if there's millions of dollars undisclosed, that money, we can go after that money. The law is clear. Remember, I was one of the first persons to reveal that under the Christie administration, there was no disclosure. The whole government, nobody to disclose. And they came after me and they tell me, you know, of course it was a big thing then. But
they forget.
They forgot. But you remember now, if you do not disclose those assets, everything is reverted to the government of the Bahamas. All of them homes and things all over the world, y'all get stashed. The money in them foreign bank account in Cayman Islands, all that be taken, all of that.
Yeah, you do not disclose, give me your clothes.
No, yeah, exactly. So the law is already clear. All we need the Attorney General to do is say, listen, let me see where that money is. If you ain't get that money, we taking that.
Yep.
It's called reverted to the government.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, I thank you both very much. We'll see where that goes, but I thank you both very much, Cassius Stewart.
And I ain't got to disclose this year, thank God.
Why don't you have to?
Because I ain't running.
Anybody whose mouth is all over the nation should disclose.
No. Only when you're running for public office. And you got to. I mean, I've been doing that, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm a minister. I was up. I was there. Now I'm up. The next thing you know, like, how you get all the money? I with Shanique.
Millions. Wow, yeah.
Because me and Shanique getting out together this year.
That
So
part.
when we disclose.
That part, yes. Listen, I thank you both very much. Cassius, Glenroy, thank you so much. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for participating. Y'all always make the show. Thank you so much for your comments, your participation, and of course a huge thank you to you for tuning in as well. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.